All right, everyone. So we have a really special guest today, and my friend Chase Lomax here from Lomax Custom Painting. And he's not only just a friend; he's also like a brother to me. He's also a client to me, and I'm super grateful to be working with him. And Chase, you want to give audience a quick backstory about you, your journey, and your business?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Jabber's been great so far. I mean, our business relationship, just our relationship in general, has been great. Super good supporter, and I mean, just props to him for everything that he's doing. So, a little bit about me. I'm Chase Lomax. I'm the owner of Lomax's Custom Painting. We're out of East Texas. Um, I mean, I started painting houses 3 years ago. When I graduated high school, I went to college in McPherson, Kansas for automotive restoration. And then COVID hit. So I had to come home and I pursued a career in painting cars. That didn't work out, so I made a transition into painting homes and just kind of started out. I was the typical operator of a business. I basically owned a job, and then 2 years down the line, I found out about coaching and consulting. I joined a coaching firm, and I mean, it's just absolutely changed my life. It's changed my business. Just really opened my eyes to what's possible. And I mean, right now we're really just at the beginning of what we're doing. So that's a little bit about me up to now.
That's amazing, brother. That's amazing. And one thing that I see a lot of businesses and like a lot of business owners do, like, and it's kind of like a mistake that I see. They are really skeptical of outside help or investing into a coaching or a mentorship. When in reality, what's that going to do? If of course it's if it's the right fit for you, what's that going to do? Is that's going to short track the time and all of the mistakes that your business is going to make in probably like years to come, right? And it's going to short track that to where you are at right now, to where you want to be. What's the goal, right? So you need to have that in mind. So what made you like invest into like the coaching in the first place?
I can't really recall. Like, I don't remember when I first like saw the ad. So I mean, once you get into like the painting, like any community, when you start, getting on Facebook groups and just getting around, in the same community as other people that are doing what you do, like you'll start seeing ads. Like Meta is extremely good at like targeting you for anything that you talk about, anything that you do. Like they just know. And so, I started seeing ads pop up, and I mean, at first I saw it and I was like, I'm sure these guys just want to take my money. It was just initial thought. And but I guess the client testimonials and everything, just seeing the proof in the pudding, and once you see like results time after time after time on somebody's website and on their ads and stuff, I mean, it builds trust. And they just built trust with me, and then it was like hey, here, we're going to give you a 90-day guarantee. And so I went with it. And I mean, at first it's like I have no business background whatsoever. I mean, none of my family has like owned and ran a business. Like this isn't natural to me. I didn't come from a background of contractors. Like I had zero experience. And so once I got into the program, it was like just an influx of information just flooded in, and I was a little overwhelmed. I mean, for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it was just like so much information. It was really, really difficult to like implement, because it's like you see 500 problems with your business, and then it's like which thing do I work on? And so it's really difficult. But once I got like on track to building a brand and stuff, I mean, it's already paid dividends. I mean, it's huge. Coaching is absolutely, like you said, like it allows you to like fast track the time that it takes to learn these lessons, because you can learn them from other people. You unlock communities of people, and I mean, it's extremely, it's just really a good thing.
Absolutely, that's amazing, bro. That's good to hear, and that's amazing that you actually took the action, right? Because most of the business owners that I see, they don't take the action, right? And that's kind of like really the thing that's kind of like holding themselves back, right? And the thing that I see, it's not them about taking action, it's more about them not believing in themselves. That's kind of like really the main issue. So huge congrats to you, bro. And you told me like nobody in your family has a contracting background, nobody in your family has a business background basically, and I kind of relate to that as well. So how did you get into the business, and what's kind of like the mindset you have when you were starting the business, right? Because now if you look back, the mindset, the journey, and the values, the mission, you're going to be way better, you're going to be way ahead. But when you were actually starting that, what's kind of like the mindset and the things that you had in mind, that okay, nobody in my family is running a business, but I'm going to be the first one. So what's kind of going on there?
I would say the mindset behind it would be like, so growing up, I did grow up around my family and like we did everything. Like we lived on a farm and it was like, hey, if a piece of equipment breaks down or, something needs to get done, like we didn't hire that out. Like we didn't hire services unless it was something special. Like you hire an AC guy or a plumbing guy, maybe, that kind of thing. But for the most part, like we maintenance all our own stuff and everything. So I mean, I had a good, sense of how the world worked and that kind of thing. When it comes to like how our way of life is, like I had a good understanding, and what I knew going into this was that I had a very good ability to learn, and I learned quickly. And so when I was going into it, like I knew that I was at a disadvantage because I had absolutely no experience, and I was going into a world that is completely different, like a world that most people don't ever even see. Like I learned things about business, and I'm like, I would have never known that if I was literally just on the other side of it. But so I took that mindset of just knowing that I can learn quickly and effectively, and I knew like in anything that I did, like any job that I worked, like I would go in, I would learn the basics, and it wouldn't take me very long, and I would just be really good at doing that thing, whatever it may have been. I mean, my first job was literally at a fast food restaurant, and I like learned how to run the whole restaurant. So I just knew that I could pick up on things really fast. And so my mindset going into it, even though it was a new world, was just that, hey, I'm confident in my ability to learn and to become the best at what I do. And I mean, that's been my rock. That's been my mindset, up to now, is just like self-confidence in myself that, hey, if other people can do this, like I know that I can do it too. And so that just having that outlook on business has, like, I mean, that's made it possible. Because if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your ability to learn and implement and make mistakes, I mean, like, to be successful, you absolutely have to make mistakes. Like, that is inevitable. Every successful person in this world has made plenty of mistakes. And so, just kind of getting over the fear of, because that's what keeps most people like stuck, is they're so scared to fail that they don't start. And so I was like, you know what? I know that successful people fail, and I know that the only way that you're going to fail or succeed is if you take action. So I really just used that whole way of thinking to my advantage, and I just try to act faster and faster and faster. And as time goes on, like I act faster now than I did 6 months ago. Like 6 months ago, it may have taken me 2 weeks to take action. Now it's like I'm taking action today.
That's lovely. I love it, bro. Like that's kind of like the mindset that you don't really see with the business owners nowadays, right? And maybe that kind of ties into like you said, like the way of life you had, right? So that's kind of like different. And I would say like taking action, that's kind of really important thing. Even if you have like the greatest knowledge to do like some of the greatest stuff, it won't make any sense, or it won't produce any results until you take action, right? So that's kind of like a really important thing. And that's amazing, bro. Like that's a really good journey to hear. And it's not even like, I would say like you're not even at your peak yet, right? It's just a beginning, right? So it's kind of like you're only starting out. You have only learned, like invested in the coaching, invested in the website. Now you're running the ads. Now you're building a brand. Now you're building something different. You're building something bigger, right? So that's kind of like it's you have all of the foundation now, and now you're ready to grow, right? So that's super amazing. And like one thing that I do want to talk about that I see a lot of contractors or painting business owners specifically struggle with, and that is getting more reviews. And lately, I've seen like people in business for like 4 years, and they have been working like their whole generations have been working in the contracting space, right? And they literally only have 20 reviews. And this is I'm not making this stuff up. This is like a real example that I'm giving you right now. This guy, like he literally was doing like contracting for 4 years, running his own business. Before that, his generations was doing the contracting business, but he literally has 23 reviews. So how do you get more reviews, bro? Like you are at 100 plus right now, right?
Right. Yeah, I think we got like like over 110. I'm not sure the exact number, but I would say that it just goes. I mean, and this is like a universal principle in business. It's like you have to be intentional about everything. Like that was one of the first things that I learned. That like that's when I started taking massive action. Like I think that the Google reviews itself was like one of the first things that I like absolutely just went and crushed. Was like whenever I was that's part of the foundation, like you said. It's like you're building trust, you're building that foundation to scale a business off of. And one of my coaches, he challenged us. He was like, go and see how many reviews you can get from your past customers and people that you've dealt with. And they gave away something, and I don't even remember, but I just went in and you don't get it unless you ask for it. And that's why I said, you got to be intentional. Like every single job we're asking for the review, and we're obviously making sure like we deliver a great product. And if there's anything, like everybody makes mistakes, if there's anything that made it not a 5-star experience, like we want to catch that before then. And ultimately at the end of the day, we want to make it a 5-star service for the customer. But even if it's not a 5-star review, like we are still intentional about getting that review. Like we want the customer's input because it's going to be valuable to the next customer. And so I think it just comes down to being very intentional about even the small things. Like that may seem like such a small thing, but it's like if you literally just ask a customer, like the day you finish a job and you're collecting the check or you're doing the final walkthrough, just say, hey, make it really easy for them. Don't make them work for it. Like they're helping you with that. So my thinking on it is like whenever you're wrapping up the job and you're doing the final walkthrough or whatever, like just have the link ready and be like, hey, would you mind supporting our business by giving us a 5-star review? Like you can say whatever you want to, or you don't even have to say anything. Just would you mind giving us a review? And being intentional about it is, that's ultimately the way that I got 100 plus.
Bro, like I'm telling you what you just said, that's literally what I tell my clients. Like when they tell me that they struggle to get reviews, that's exactly like kind of the same thing that I tell them, that when you're doing the final walkthrough, just have the link ready. Just make sure that you pull out your phone and then say like, how was the experience working with our company? And then be like, wow, it was amazing. Like I loved it. I loved that you guys showed up on time. I loved the job that you did. All of these things, like you took care of us. Like pull out the phone and have them leave a review right then and there. There's literally no reason why they're not gonna leave that review there, because like it's almost like they're admitting that, okay, I've had the best possible experience. Like I love the company, I love the culture, I love the team members, all of it, right? And you make it so super simple for them, right? And they leave a review. That's how you get more reviews. Like that's literally exactly what I tell my clients. So when you were telling me that, I was like, wow, you just validated what I just tell my clients, right? So that's great to hear, right? And like the thing is, if you like, let's say, leave the job, don't care about it, and then after that you ask them for a review, they might say like, sure, I'm gonna leave your review, but life happens for them, right? And something might come up, they might not have the time, they might forget about it, and it's not necessarily the customer's fault, right? So we need to think about all of these things as well. So that's great to hear, bro. Let's see over here.
Yeah, and you
And I
touched
want to
on
tell,
like
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Like, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like you touched on, like, you may ask them later. You may send them like say your CRM can send them a link. Like, yeah, you sent them the link, but like you said, like life happens, and it's not their responsibility to take care of that. At the end of the day, it's your team's responsibility. You and your team should be intentional about that. Like you said, like we should make it easy for the customer because at the end of the day, like that's something that is going towards the business growth, and so that falls into the owner's responsibility. So like don't try to leave it up to the customer because like you said, life happens. I mean, everybody's busy these days.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think so, I saw like Tanner Muller, like the CEO of Drip Jobs. I think so. I saw one of his videos. He probably like pays, I don't know, like $5 or that's probably like $50. I'm not sure, but he has a big team, so he pays his team per review. So he incentivizes his team as well to get more reviews, and it's almost like he probably like paid like 3K for a week to get like bunch of reviews. So it might seem a lot of money at start when you are just like, okay, I'm paying all of this to my team members to incentivize the reviews, but that's going towards a business growth. Guess what's going to happen when you will have like 100 plus reviews, 200 plus reviews, 500 plus reviews? More people are going to see you on Google, and when they're going to see you, they're going to be like, wow, this company literally has 500 like 5-star reviews, right? Whatever the amount you have, and that's going to give you more clients in the long run, right? So that's something that again, like I see most business owners do. They think about short term, right? So let's say like with the reviews, like if you're paying like, and that's based on like how many reviews your team members actually get, right? You pay them a certain amount, like per review, that okay, I'm gonna give you $5 per review that you get, right? And they get like probably like 10, and that's probably like, that keeps stacking up, right? And then you're only thinking about like that small amount upfront. You're not thinking about like the long run, what's that going to do for your business in the long run. And that's what I see a lot of business owners do as well, right? They're going to be thinking about what it's like the short term and the upfront that it's going to cost them, but not what it's going to cost them if they don't do anything about it, right? And if they don't grow, right? So that's kind of like one thing that I definitely want to see businesses like improve. So absolutely. And in terms of like the coaching, I do want to touch a little bit more about on that, because like coaching, that's kind of like considered like just like you said, the first thought that you had was, oh, they're just trying to take my money, right? Now in reality, like that's kind of like human thing, right? That's like basic psychology, that we try to defend ourselves and try to validate our like decisions, or like try to like probably like push away the hard decisions, right? Because investing into the coaching, investing into the business, that's a hard decision, bro. Like of course, no, you are not gonna like see an ad one day and you're gonna be like, I'm gonna invest like thousands of dollars into this like mentorship, into this coaching. And I say this personally because I've also like invested into a mentorship recently, and I know how it feels. It feels scary. So how did you overcome that? How did you like make sure that you invested into the right coaching so that way your business could grow and you could have like the right systems, the right knowledge, whatever you was investing in?
I would say, well, I want to touch on like the fear side of it first because I mean, ultimately, yes, that whole thought process is based in fear, but you kind of have to change the question because in your mind you think, okay, I'm investing thousands of dollars into coaching or consulting or whatever it may be, but you have to ask yourself, I don't know. It's easy to look at it like, okay, say this coaching program costs $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month, and you're like, okay, if I spend $1,000, like, how am I going to get my money back? That's your first thought is, what are they going to do to give me my money back? And it's a scary thought, but you have to ask yourself, what would it cost you if you didn't spend that money? Like, yes, $1,000 a month now. Let's say for a 12-month period, that's $12,000. But if you invest $12,000 and you revolutionize your business and say you double your revenue, Well, that's going to ultimately double your profit, or it should if you implement the systems and things. It'll double your profit, and then 12K after the whole year when you made double what you would have made. I mean, like, very quickly can pay itself off. But I think it comes down to, it's like taking a bet on yourself. So it's not your coach's responsibility to do it for you. Like, they're there to help you. They're there to provide you with the systems. They're there to guide you along the way. But at the end of the day, like, as the operator, as the owner of the business, it is your responsibility to take action. Like, you have to take massive action, and it can be hard. It is. I mean, there was months where I started feeling sorry for myself. I felt like I wasn't worthy. I felt like it was too much. But I also knew in the back of my mind that I had. It gives you a level of accountability, because in those times where I was like, I don't feel like I'm qualified. I don't feel like I'm enough to do this. I look back and I'm like, okay, I took the bet on myself. I can't quit. Like, I'm not going to quit. And I think just doing that gives you a sense of accountability, because your money's on the line, for one. But then two, it's like, you have to have a level of confidence in yourself that you can do it, to bet that money. So I think it does several things, like, psychology wise. Now, when it comes to, like, the content, if you get a good coach, like, you're going to get good materials. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, you can lead your horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So the coaches can't guarantee that you're going to succeed, because it all comes down to the business owner. So I mean, if I would have invested in the coaching and I did nothing with it, that's not the coach's fault. The coaches had good systems. The coaches, they were there for you. They did their part. But if you don't do your part, then ultimately, there's no point in it. So I think there's several things that go into it, but it's like taking a bet on yourself. And I mean, if you're doing business for yourself, you're already taking a bet on yourself. And I think that I'm an advocate for it. So I think it's a great thing. I wouldn't be where I'm at without it. So.
Absolutely. And how did you personally overcome that fear? Like you mentioned, the first thought, they're going to take my money, and of course it's a fear that how are they going to make you the money back, right? So I totally understand that that's a fear that we naturally have as human beings, right? So how did you personally overcome that, so that way maybe somebody seeing this, they can relate to it and they can overcome it?
So for me personally, I just looked at it like, what do I know now? Where have I gotten myself? So me personally, I'll just be transparent. So without the coaching, I joined my coaching in like July of last year, maybe, yeah, July, August last year. And from January to July, August, what I did for myself, which I ultimately, one job made it huge. I mean, I hadn't done very much work. It was like me and one or two guys. For the year, revenue-wise, I was at $160,000 when I joined. And so I'll finish that story in a minute, but like when I joined, I had seen what I was capable of doing myself, and at that time, like, I thought those were big numbers. Like, I didn't know, I thought that was huge, and it was at the time. But I just kind of asked myself, like, I see these client testimonials of these guys scaling past 7 figures, and I'm like, how am I ever going to figure out how to get to 7 figures by myself? Like, could I do it? Maybe. How long will it take me though? And so, how do I get to that 30K month or that 20K, 50K month? Like, how do I do that? I have no idea by myself. So let me pay for somebody to tell me when they've already done it, and they have a community of people that are actively doing it. Like, let me give those people money. That way they can teach me. And just for example, when I joined we'll just say August. When I joined in August, I was at $160,000 for revenue for the year. I ended the year at $357,000 revenue sold. Like, I doubled my business pretty much in a matter of like a quarter, like 4 months. So, I guess I don't know. It's just, you just ultimately have to be willing to take that risk on yourself. And we're on track to double our business again this year. And then ultimately that's going to be the goal for 2026 as well, is to just double again. So that'll be 2 years in a row to double revenue, which would be huge.
That's true, bro. Like you said, like you did 160K probably like in probably like half and more than half year, but in just a quarter you just did like probably the same amount, so it's almost the double of what you did like the last whole year, right? So that's amazing. Like the growth, it shows itself, right, when you actually put in the work, when you actually implement the systems, right? Because the thing is, again, you could lead a horse to the water but you cannot force it to drink, right? Because that's kind of like how this coaching and like investing into yourself actually works, right? And it all comes down to the self belief as well, right? When you are having that hard time, when you are doubting yourself, and that's, I would say, it's completely normal, right? I would say like
Mm.
for like when I started my business personally, like there wasn't a single moment that I believed in myself, right? And if I had let that thought overcome me, we wouldn't be doing what we are doing right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation at all, right? The thing is, we all have these thoughts, right? We all have like the same thoughts that how is the business going to work out? Am I worthy? Can I do it? Because business itself, it's hard, right? It's not easy going out there, growing your business, building a brand reputation. All of it, it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes grit, it takes persistence, right? So I literally had really, I would say, like same thoughts, just like you mentioned, right? And the thing is, if you believe in yourself enough that you want to do something, and I think so, it kind of comes down back to what your why is, right? What's your why behind the business? What's the reason why you want to do business in the first place? If it's just for the money, like you could earn money like doing jobs, you could earn money like doing subcontracting, you could do like bunch of stuff to make money, right? But what's the reason behind the business? Why are you doing what you're doing, right? And I think so, a lot of business owners, they don't even like recognize that, and they don't even realize that, right? So I think so, like that's kind of like really important thing. And like for you, like what does success look like when you actually started, and when you like right now leading the business, leading the team, leading the company, and having an impact in the community? What does success look like to you back then, and what does it look like to you now? Because that kind of like changes over the time.
I would say, success for me looks like, constant growth. Um, you know, the idea of success when I started was like, okay, I'm gonna reach this pinnacle of, an all-time high, and then I'm just gonna be able to stay there. Completely wrong. I mean, success is ultimately just it's it's a process, and it's a journey, and it's something that you continue to achieve. It's like a we're not in a race. We're in a we're not in a 100-meter sprint. Like being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, isn't about getting to the finish line. Like I don't know if there's a finish line. I think that this is a lifelong journey. I think that it's a constant growth. I would say that ultimately when I started, my why was just to build something to leave to my family. Build something that is build something that's mine. Ultimately, be able to buy back my time. Just have a level of freedom that would never be possible otherwise. Because if you don't take the risk, no risk, no reward. A lot of risk can lead to a lot of reward. So, that's just kind of the way that I always looked at it. But as far as success, I do believe that that's something that is like a continual. I feel like it's just part of the race. I mean, part of the journey. Like this whole thing, this entrepreneurship, business. It's like a game. It's like a journey. And I think that it constantly evolves. I think that it constantly, your goals will change. Your why should stay. I mean, your why ultimately can broaden, but I think that just having that, the why will help in the times of, doubt and suffering. And yeah, but I it success is just part of the journey. You're gonna have highs, you're gonna have lows. It's all part of the journey because without the lows, the highs mean nothing, and without the highs, the lows mean nothing. And you need both. It's just like light and darkness. Like you have to have light. You got to have darkness for light to even exist. So that's just part of the journey, I think.
Absolutely, and it's the journey that's kind of like the goal. First of all, like I thought to myself that I hit a certain revenue goal, I would be like happy that I've done something, right? But then you immediately hit that like revenue goal, whatever that is for you, and then you're like, okay, you're gonna use up all of that money like instantly. It's like instant, and then you're like wondering that what's the next thing, what's the next level for me, right? So it's never like okay, I'm at this stage, I want to be at this stage, but when you actually get there, you realize there's something even beyond that. There's something even further that, right? So it's I would say it's a journey. It's something that you kind of like experience like alongside life. So that's kind of like the beautiful part as well. And yeah, it's amazing, bro. Like what can actually be done in like an year's time, right? And you mentioned like when did you like actually invested into that coaching? When was that?
That was just over a year ago. I mean, right at 12 months ago.
So just over an year ago. Okay. So I mean an year ago, right? If we talk about like I talk about myself, an year ago I was at zero, right? I was literally at nothing, right? So a lot of the things can change just in 1 year if you just dedicate yourself to it, if you just push towards it, and if you just keep like I don't know, like just don't give up, because that's kind of like business. It's hard enough to where you feel like that you want to give up, but if you don't give up, if you don't quit, if you keep with it, a lot of the things can change in just 1 year. And I'm surprised myself, right? Like if you would have told me like 1 year ago that I would have been like doing what I've been doing and improving and like building a brand, relationships, doing podcasts, and then also like having clients as well, right? Because that was kind of like I want to just get a client, right? I want to just make some money, right? So it's kind of like I would have never believed it, right? It was kind of like just hustling, and then I was like, what's gonna happen, right? And it was the same thoughts that you just had, like the doubts come in, the self belief like that starts to like okay, that starts to fall apart, all of that stuff happens. But it's kind of like it's been a like I would say a blessing as well to be able to experience that journey. So that way when you start from scratch, you are like more appreciate the things that have happened to you, so that way you are able to grow, right? So that's kind of what I personally believe.
Absolutely. And props to you because, I mean, if you started at zero a year ago, like you're crushing it, dude. Like like my website we just released my website and I mean, people are like blown away. People are, Jabber's very good at what he does and, I'm very impressed, props to you for sure. If you started a year ago at nothing, like, dude, you're crushing and you're going to continue to do that.
That's I really appreciate those words, and it's like it's amazing to hear this as well. But that I want to talk more about like the culture building, the team building, and the community as well, right? Because you mentioned that when you're part of like communities, like similar minded business owners, right? Like the painting communities, the like the contracting communities, how is that really helpful, right? Because I say this myself because I have friends that I work together with. I have like I'm also part of like a lot of the communities, right? And when you see like a lot of these people work towards that same goal, it's almost like I want to do this myself. I, I want to be the next one to crush that goal, right? So do you think about that?
I think that the community part of it is like, I mean, that's a huge part, first of all, because it gives you a layer of accountability. It gives you like hope because you see guys that have done it, but it also gives you a sense of like, it gives you a sense of peace because you see like the problems, the things that you deal with, that you're not alone. Like you're not the only business owner that's struggling. You know, you're not the only business owner that has cash flow issues. Like multi-million dollar business owners have these same problems. Like, and it really just gives you a whole different perspective because it's like the guy that's at $20 million a year is really no different than you at 150 per year. Y'all just, he has the same problems with bigger numbers. And so, you know, it really like levels the playing field when you get everybody in a room to where, you know, where you can like be honest with each other and they're not hiding behind their revenue numbers. And I don't know, that's a huge thing for me. Something, you know, for new guys, like people coming into communities and stuff, something that a mistake that I made early on was I hid behind that revenue number. Okay, so what I mean by that is, you know, we would be in these meetings and the coaches and everybody would be like, hey, you know, what's a win, you know, you always want to, when you're starting out, or me at least, you know, I was always focused on like, how can I show up as like this successful guy? And so I would be like, yeah, you know, I sold a 10K job or I sold a 6K job or whatever. But I wasn't telling them like, hey, I underbid that 10K job and it should have been a 15K job and I'm losing money and, you know, I feel like everything's falling apart and like, which is okay. Like, and a mistake that I made, the reason I say it was a mistake, it was a learning lesson. It all worked out. The reason I said that the reason that I say it's a mistake is because I could have avoided a lot of the issues that I created for myself if I would have just been honest. If I'd have been like, hey guys, look, I'm really excited because I sold this $10,000 job, but two of my guys, you know, they stink and, you know, they shouldn't be on the site, but I feel like I can't get rid of them because, you know, XYZ, you know, whatever the problem may be. Like if you're honest, if you're in these groups or if you're in these communities, show up 100% honest. Because at the end of the day, people can't help you unless you're 100% transparent. Because if you're having issues, you're not the first one to have those issues. Like learn from somebody else that made the mistake and save yourself the time, the energy, and the money and the stress. Like save yourself from that. Like, but it takes a sense of like your ego dying and just being willing to put yourself out there and say, hey guys, I'm not perfect. You know, I'm aspiring to be great, but right now I'm kind of sucking it up, you know, and that's okay. But you have to have that level of humility just so you can ultimately help yourself. Like, and in these communities, I'm sure, you know, hopefully not, but you know, I've never seen any guys that would dog on you for asking questions. Like, for the most part, the people that have put together the painting industry, like groups and stuff, like amazing. I mean, they have absolutely crushed it on the community side. Like all of my communities, we can just be completely honest. Doesn't matter if you're at, you know, doesn't matter if you're at 5K, 10K a month, or if you're doing $1 million a month. Like these guys care. We all care about each other, and it's just a place of like humility and just, I don't know. It's a great environment to be around. But ultimately, like you're only as good as you allow yourself to be. So when you're in these groups, you really just need to be honest and take advantage of the people that's in there. Don't feel like you have to impress anybody, because at the end of the day, we all know how it is. Like you don't need to impress us. We just want to make each other's lives better, and if we can do that by working together, like that's ultimately what we all want.
That is so true, bro. Like most business owners, they get caught in this, like, I don't know how to say it, but they want to be like at that revenue goal. They want to be like impressing the other people that, oh, I just closed this job at like this, like 10K. When you underbid yourself and it should have been 15K. Now you are not only underbidding yourself, you cannot pay your guys what you want to actually pay them or what they're actually worth, right? So it's kind of like, don't be that guy. Don't try to impress everyone in the room. Just be humble, and that's going to take a hit at your ego. That's definitely fine, right? If you're in the business, Like I'm telling you, business humbles you like a lot, right? So
Oh
it
yeah,
it it humbles you, right, bro? And
for
one
sure.
thing that I think that it's kind of funny, like I'm just kind of making this joke up, but when you see other people like yourself, it's like you're not only the crazy one out there, right? So you see like, okay, I'm not only the crazy one, so that's keeping you insane, like sane, right? So it's kind of like um, you see other people struggling, you see other people hustle, and then you see them persist. So that's kind of like a really amazing thing. And I mean, huge shout out to these like painting communities. I really love these like drip jobs. That is a really good community, right? And painters in general, I've seen that they're more open to helping each other out, right? Like they're more open to like hopping on podcasts like this and like giving free advice, right? It's your first time. When I asked you for that, it like this episode, you was like, I haven't done this type of thing before, and it's kind of like first time for me, but you still did, right? You still showed up here. It's not like you're making any money out of this, right? I'm not paying you anything. I'm not doing anything for you for this podcast. You just hopped on here to just provide free value, right, to the community, right? And when people are going to see this, they're going to find it valuable. They're going to see that, okay, this business owner has the same issues as me. They could connect with you. They can, it could lead to like opportunities, right? But the point is, I've seen like a lot of these painters, right, that are doing like really well. They're more open to like sharing free value. They're more open to like connecting and like just be an open book, right? And like the communities, like the networking events as well, I've seen like a lot of the networking events, they're great. Like that's something that, and this reminds me of a story, right, of a networking event. Actually, like one of the earliest uh, like my friend that I did interview for the podcast, he was actually like probably like in debt something like 2k, or let's say he was negative 2k or 3k. He didn't have money to like go to a networking event, but his friend, he asked him that, did you like, do you want to go to an event, we are going there? And he was like negative 3k at that point, but he was like, let's do it, let's go. And he probably like paid for that, like going to that event. And when he actually went there, he learned the things and he implemented those. And guess what, when he came back in probably like first 4 or 6 months, he made like 100k plus, just by connecting with the right people, just by learning from like the people that are willing to teach, and just by networking, right? that's that is, I would say, like one of a kind story that I think some people need to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like being in the same room with these people, like, can change your life because, like you said, I mean, it can lead to opportunities. You know, it can lead it can ultimately just lead to like massive growth because it's not just a theory anymore. Like you talk to people that have genuinely done it, and you get real feedback. You get real life scenarios. Like it's really just unmatched like networking that you can't get anywhere else.
So I ask, anything that you want to leave people with, like the business owners with, any final thing that we missed that you want to mention, and we can wrap this up after it.
I would just say that if you're on the fence about anything, like don't stay on the fence. Like you can't have one foot in, one foot out. Like you have to take action, and you really just need to ask yourself, like maybe you're on the fence about coaching, maybe you're on the fence about investing in your website, maybe you're on the fence about hiring the new guy. Maybe you're on the fence about delegating something that you feel like, well, I have to do that or it won't be right. Like that's like the most dangerous place that you can be because like once you start procrastinating, that's when opportunities are lost. So and don't get in that mindset. A lot of contractors, a lot of people that do work with their hands, like they take pride in what they do, and that is extremely, like, that's perfectly fine. Like you should take pride in what you do. That's what makes you who you are. That's what makes your company who you are. And that's ultimately what's going to drive customers to want to do business with you. But don't get stuck in thinking, well, if I don't do this, then it's not going to get done right, because that is completely wrong. You have to change your way of thinking, and it's like, okay, I know how to do this. I know how I like it done. I know that when I do it my way, that it gets done right. You have to shift your mind from, okay, I'm the only guy that can do it, to, hey, I'm the only one that can teach it this way. That's what's going to make me successful. So you kind of got to get out of that mindset. But like I was saying, if you're on the fence about doing any of those things, ask yourself genuinely, like, what's your 12-month goal? If your 12-month goal is to go, double your business, or ultimately have more free time, or whatever the goal may be, you need to reflect on that goal and go, okay, this is my investment that I'm looking at taking. What is it going to cost me if I don't make that investment? And don't be afraid. Like, if you're unsure, if you're on the fence about working with a coach, or somebody like Jabber that does web design, or anything that will improve your business, don't be afraid to ask people. Even go to the people. Like, don't feel like when you're going to somebody, like, obviously they're gonna, like, everyone's trained in sales. Like, at the end of the day, like, to be of good service, like, we have to be able to sell. Okay. But don't be afraid to ask those people, like, show me the proof. Like, they want you to ask them that. That way they can show you, like, this is why you should use me. So don't be afraid to, ask the community. Reach out to me, ask me. Like, I'll answer any questions. I'll be honest with anybody. Like Jabber said, like, nobody's getting paid to be here. Like, we're just doing this to give value out for free, because we want to see other people do good. But use the communities that you're in. Ask questions. Private message people if you don't want it to be on the public board. Like, ask them, hey, what was your experience like? What did you do here? What did you do here? And people, 99% of people are going to help you. They're going to give you honest feedback. And like I said, and after you do all that, do your due diligence is what I'm saying. Do your due diligence, but really ask yourself what it's going to cost me if I don't do this. Because at the end of the day, if you don't bet on yourself, no one else will. And if you don't bet on yourself, like, if you don't take a risk, there will be no reward. So you can't expect to get to your goal and not do anything to get there. Like, that's just not going to happen. So I would just say, don't stay on the fence. Like, pick one or the other. Like, do you want to succeed, or are you just okay with where you're at? And if you're okay with where you're at, like, you're not wrong for that. But don't be so afraid to take a risk that you live your whole life in regret. That's what I would leave everybody with, just because that's ultimately what has changed my life up until now.
That is so amazing, and I really love this because, and I think so, instead of being the guy where you're at right now, you need to start thinking about, like the guy that is in your position, like, is in the next position, right? That's actually done the stuff that you want to do. So it kind of, like, ties back to the goals that you have. Take a look at your goals and see if the things that you have been doing for the past 6 to 12 months, if the same things have not led you to that goal right now, then doing the same thing for the next 6 to 12 months definitely won't get you there either, right? So start thinking about, like, the guy who's actually done it, not the guy that you're currently right now. So that's, I would say, like, really beautiful piece of final advice. And I hope somebody takes action and they actually do the stuff, right? Because listening to all of this stuff is not going to help them if they don't take any action. And it was an amazing episode with you, brother. I really love the value